Welcome to another Health Coach Answers. I'm Coach Lindsay, and today I'll break down Mighty Health members' top 5 questions of the week. So let's get started. Our first question was actually a very popularly requested question, and it's, why is my weight going up even though I'm eating better and I'm exercising, I'm doing all the right things, and it's just not budging? So the first thing is, I've mentioned this before along with the question last week about plateaus, that it's best to look at weight loss over a long period of time. So it's easy to get discouraged if we're doing all the right things for, a couple days or a week or even a couple weeks, and maybe that scale's jumping or we're just not seeing the progress we expected. Take a look at it over a month or a couple months and kind of let that define your progress essentially. I've talked a lot about some different things that contribute to weight loss plateaus or that contribute to the scale just not budging. And the two biggest things, especially as you're getting started, is you're changing your nutrition habits and you're changing your exercise consistency. So especially when it comes to changing nutrition habits, you're going from eating one way to a completely different way. And so your body is confused. Your body's trying to figure out if it needs to retain nutrients, if it needs to retain water, like what the heck is going on? So that's the biggest thing, is just allowing your body to adjust to what you're doing differently. And then the other thing is exercise. So as you're starting something new, the way that our body builds muscle is it tears down the muscle fiber and then repairs it. Tears it and repairs it. And so that's kind of a lot of stress on the body. So your body is going to retain water. Your muscles are going to be sore. That's going to kind of make you feel a little bit more just inflamed. And so those things can just lead to a little bit of more stagnant progress on the scale. So make sure you're taking those things into consideration, especially as you're starting out. And it really just boils down to your body just needs time to adjust. And it's really normal for your weight to jump up a little bit when starting something like this. So it's normal. It happens to everybody. Just continue to build that consistency. And then we know a lot of factors that really play into the number on the scale that I've discussed, a lot before, is just your water retention. So are you eating too much sodium? Are you not drinking enough water? Sleep hygiene. Are you not sleeping enough? Our body affects weight loss a lot when you're not sleeping. And then stress and anxiety. So last week we talked about the hormones ghrelin and cortisol. So when those are elevated, your body is not going to lose weight as fast. And then bowel movements. So if you're constipated or not going to the bathroom as often, that's going to cause the scale to jump or not move. And then of course, hormones. So all things considered, there's just a lot that goes into the scale. Give yourself some grace, give yourself some time, especially to let your body adjust. And then recognizing, and I can't emphasize this enough, that the number on the scale is one small portion of your journey. So what really matters is your blood work coming back better when you go to the doctor? Are you moving better? Do your clothes fit better? Do you have more energy? Are you able to do things that you couldn't do before, like play on the ground with your grandkids or go on long walks with your spouse, whatever that looks like? So make sure you're focusing on those non-scale victories always, and then just giving yourself a little bit of grace and time with the scale. So our second question is, what happens when I get a cramp during exercise? And this has happened to myself a lot. I'm sure it happens to a lot of you. And why is this happening especially? So more often than not, cramps are just an annoyance. They're painful, they're uncomfortable, but they're often not really harmful, and don't really have to require medical attention unless you become extremely concerned about the frequency or the intensity. So some causes of cramping just in general is underuse or overuse of muscle. It's simple as that. So if you're working out too much and you're not letting your muscle repair after you tear it down, that's going to cause cramping, as well as underuse. So if you're just getting into an exercise routine and you haven't used these muscles a lot, they're kind of going through some shock as well. So they're adjusting with cramping usually. And then muscle injuries, dehydration is a big one. If you're not hydrated, your muscles are going to cramp. Low electrolytes, so the calcium, magnesium, sodium, those things when they're lower are going to cause more cramping. And then another one is just low blood supply. So your most often areas of cramping are your feet, your calves, and then your hamstring and quad. Well, not quad so much, but more hamstring area. And that's just because our lower extremities are further from our heart. So the blood flow is slower. And then if you have certain conditions that cause maybe lower circulation or slower or lower blood flow, that's going to increase your cramping as well. So something to be aware of when you're assessing these causes. Reflect on, if you're someone who has a lot of cramping, are you experiencing any of what I just mentioned? And then what do you do if you're in the middle of a low impact aerobics workout with Allison and you start cramping? What do you do? So the first thing is, don't try to work through your cramp. Stop what you're doing. If you try to work through it, you're going to risk making that cramp worse. You're going to risk pulling a muscle, making it worse. So just stop your workout. Use a hot or cold compress on it. So an ice pack or a heating pad, just to kind of get that muscle relaxed. Stretching and massaging that muscle will help, just taking a time to really get into that muscle. Hydrate too. So if you find yourself cramping in the middle of a workout and you haven't drank water, chug some water. And then stop your workout. Don't feel like you have to continue, especially if you're uncomfortable or in pain from that cramp. It's okay to let your body rest, take a few days to rest. But if you find that it's just a simple cramp, then you can continue. Just listen to your body, make sure you're doing what's right for you. And then there are some things you can do to prevent cramping, of course. So always warming up before your workout and then stretching after. So I talked a lot about warming up last week and how important it is. So making sure you're getting your muscles warmed up so that they don't have a cold start essentially and cramp, and then stretching afterwards. Another thing is, don't eat 20 to 30 minutes before working out. And this is more prominent for like abdominal cramping when you're working out. So normally when you eat, your blood supply and energy goes towards your digestive system to help break that food down. But if you start exercising right away, that is redirected. And so that is where you can get the abdominal cramping. So try to cut down eating or snacking 20 to 30 minutes before exercise. Increase your electrolytes with things like milk, bananas, pickle juice, if you're a fan. I'm not, but if you want to try it, go for it. And then zero sugar electrolyte drinks. So Powerade Zero is a good one, just as long as you're getting the no sugar ones. And then increasing your intake of foods with potassium as well. So bananas, beans, melons, lentils, stuff like that. And then caffeine is actually something that causes cramps. So normally caffeine just causes us to have muscle twitches and spasms. So if you're drinking caffeine right before a workout, that's going to increase your risk of cramping. And then always stay hydrated. I've mentioned that like 3 times already, but stay hydrated. That's a big thing for cramping. And then when it comes to the severity and the frequency, it's gonna vary for everybody. But if you are concerned, always consult with your physician. That's the best thing to do, because there are some underlying conditions that can cause that cramping. So do what's right for you, but try some of the above things first. See if that helps. Our next question is, I'm really busy. I don't have time to work out. What do I do? And we know everybody's schedule is different. Everybody is super busy. Our busyness varies with stages of our life. So as your coach, we know that. And we know that it's not always realistic to get a workout in all 7 days of the week, or even at all some weeks. So the best thing to do is plan ahead. I always talk about getting a calendar out, looking at your week. What does your week look like? What does your day look like? And physically scheduling your workouts into your day. There's always going to be at least a 10 to 15 minute time slot in your day that you can do a workout. And if there's not, maybe reevaluate what you're doing. Are you scrolling on your phone for 10 to 15 minutes when you could be going for a walk or doing a workout or something like that? So just taking time to really evaluate your schedule, plan those workouts into your schedule. And it doesn't have to be 30 to 45 minute sessions. It can be really short 5 to 10 minute walks, stretching, really whatever you can do to get your body moving. And then learn how to build that consistency too. So there's a lot of things that we do on a daily basis that we are, on busy days that we do anyways. Like on a busy day, we still brush our teeth. On a busy day, we still eat, we still make dinner. So try to hold your workouts at that same kind of priority and build it into your day as a non-negotiable. And that can take time. So, and that can take, it's a lot of times easier said than done, but it really is just about making time for yourself, just as you do with anything else that you're doing in your day. And then also, if you do have those weeks where you really just cannot get that structured movement in, find different ways to get movement into your day. So, dancing on the phone, while you're on the phone, or parking further away in the parking lot, taking the stairs. Something that I personally like to do, because I obviously sit at a desk all day, is every hour I'll get up and I'll walk up my stairs and walk back down and sit back down. It takes me literally 20 seconds, but it's intentional movement. It's getting my steps in and it's getting me away from my desk. So doing those little things really can make a big difference, even if you're not getting that structured workout in if you don't have time. And then kind of going along with that, like taking your short walks, just doing whatever you can, gardening, getting outside, whatever it may be. So plan if you can, and if you can't, try to fit in that intentional workout or intentional movement into your day as well. The next question kind of relates to what I just talked about a little bit, but I don't like exercise. What do I do? And not all of us love exercise. It's okay. Sometimes it's not enjoyable. Nobody really likes to sweat and be uncomfortable and get our heart rates up, and that's okay. Sometimes exercise really isn't meant to be enjoyed. It's just something that our bodies have to do. So I would first suggest starting out with planned just movement into your day. So build that relationship with just moving your body. So similarly to the activities that I mentioned, if you don't have time to exercise, is getting in some stretching, going for a 5 to 10 minute walk. Walking is one of the best things you can do for your health, and it literally doesn't take any education, thought process, nothing. You just put your shoes on and go. And it doesn't have to be long either, depending on what your limitations are. So start building a relationship with just smaller intentional movements like that. Give yourself time to build that consistency, plan it into your day. So a lot of these rules kind of still apply. And then another thing is bring in your positive self-talk. A lot of times we go into something with a negative mindset, and that just makes it worse. If we go in, oh, I don't like exercise, I'm not going to like this, or I don't like veggies, I'm not going to eat that. When we don't know. Do we know if we like that certain activity? Do we know if we like that certain veggie? Do we maybe want to try doing it a different way? Maybe we will like it. So change your mindset around to be a little bit more open to different types of activity, and really try to find what you enjoy. There's no sense in doing stuff that you don't love. If you don't like running, don't run. If you don't like lifting weights, don't lift weights. Do things that you like, make dancing an exercise for you, or, when you're gardening, do some like bicep curls with your, with your rake, like whatever it may look like, just do stuff that you enjoy. And then the last thing about this too, is a lot of times that enjoyment from exercise, the lack of enjoyment, I guess I should say, comes from not being able to do certain activities. So I know that this probably rings true to a lot of you, that if you go into a workout and there's just a lot of things the instructor's doing that you can't do, that takes the fun out of it, because then you feel defeated. So learn modifications. That's the best thing you can do. Learn how to do things differently to your ability, to where, you feel that excitement and enjoyment because you are able to move. Even though you can't do it just the way that the instructor's doing it. So our instructors try to do a good job of providing modifications in the workouts, but I always say just, march in place, jog in place, dance, whatever you want to do during an exercise that you can't or don't feel comfortable doing. And that way you're still moving your body, but you're not trying to do something that's like completely out of your zone that makes you feel upset and defeated. So bottom line, find what you like to do, plan, and then learn modifications along the way. And then we have a great lesson track in the Explore tab called Learning to Love Exercise. So I highly recommend taking a peek at this. We can add it to your schedule, or you can do it as well. And that'll give you some good tips on ways to just kind of build that fun with exercise. Our last question is, how do I overcome a sugar addiction? And this is also probably one of the most requested questions out there. And when it comes to sugar, it is an addictive property. It really is. I think it's very as addicting as, things like alcohol and drugs and stuff, which can sound extreme, but it is. And it's one of those things that's harder to overcome because things like alcohol and substances, you can live without that, but you can't live without food. And so food is all around us. It's harder to overcome a sugar addiction when you're always constantly around it. And it's something that food is something your body needs. So the biggest thing is start out small with limiting your sugar intake and the amounts of added sugar you have. So if you're someone who puts like a tablespoon of sugar in your coffee every morning, try to do a half a tablespoon or a teaspoon and really start cutting back, because as you start to just limit, your palate is going to adjust, and then your body won't, you're not going to crave it as much because your body has adjusted to not needing that sweetness. So you don't have to go cold turkey. You don't have to cut everything out of your diet all at once. It's really just about starting to limit it and then being okay with enjoying things in moderation. So set boundaries with yourself. If you know that you love a certain sweet item, only have it on Saturdays or only on holidays, birthdays, whatever that is. Just have that some sort of boundary and idea of moderation in your mind. That way, you have a boundary, but you're not restricting yourself either. And then the last thing about, overcoming that sugar addiction is finding alternatives. So we've talked a lot about fruit. When you are craving something sweet, grab a piece of fruit. Dark chocolate is always going to be best over like milk chocolate. And then if you're baking, use, sweetener alternatives. So monk fruit and stevia. We've done a lot of recipe reconstruction and talk about that too. So just finding little ways to reduce the amount of sugar, and then over time, your body won't really want it as much. So we're all on this sugar addiction journey together. So always seek out support from the communities as well, and always use us as a resource. I think we might be good then. But of course, if you guys have any, follow-up questions to anything, please let your coach know. We can always answer them for you. And then we'll be right back here next week to do this again. So thanks for coming, guys.